let's take a look at this week's NFL Power Rankings. We have 2 data points to work with now in our NFL Power Rankings, and already saw quite a few changes coming out of week number 1 coming out of week number 2, in our Power Rankings. So let's go through them now, shall we? But first, Carissa Carlin in the Kick Chat. Glad to hear that. I am pretty good. How's your day been so far? My day has been lovely so far. Getting to chat football with some people on the internet. So how could it not be a good day, right? All right, let's dive in. Last in the league right now, the Miami Dolphins. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't think I'm going to get a whole lot of pushback. I think that they are a pretty bad defense with a very bad offense and a coach that is coaching like he's scared of his quarterback. All of that goes together to make me feel like this is the worst football team in the NFL. Carissa, you can suggest anything you want at all times. That is totally fine. At 31, it's New Orleans. They have hung with teams better than I expected throughout the season. 100% they have. But it's still not good. You can still see obvious limitations at quarterback. You can see obvious limitations in the weapons that he has to throw to. And a defense that I think has some talent on it is just beat up and is out on the field a whole lot and also isn't that great. So they've tried really, really hard, but they are number 31 right now in the power rankings. At number 30, it's the Carolina Panthers. They hung in that game with Arizona, and they created some drama because of an onside kick and a recovery there. But you look at when that game was competitive and when Arizona wasn't just sitting back on defense, and Carolina didn't have a hope there. So I still think this is one of the bottom teams in the league. At 29, it is the Cleveland Browns. Again, beat up pretty bad in a loss against Baltimore and hung with Cincinnati, but we're seeing there are limitations to this football team. And at 28, it's the Tennessee Titans. Again, I think there are better days ahead for the Titans, but right now, it's tough to argue that this isn't a bottom 5 team in the NFL. So our last 5, Miami, New Orleans, Carolina, Cleveland, and Tennessee. But reverse order there. Up next, it's the Giants at 27. They looked better against the Dallas Cowboys. At least you've seen now this offense can be competent at times, so that's good. But still, way too many holes, and the penalties were a big problem, and I think a big concern for a coach that is looking to keep his job. At 26, it's Arizona. This is really low for a 2-0 team to be in the power rankings, but they should have absolutely dog-walked New Orleans, and they should have blown away Carolina, and instead, they needed big plays late to put both of those games away. So I am so not impressed with what I've seen from Arizona so far. At 25, it's Dallas. I went on the rant before. I don't think this is a great football team, but they hung with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they just had a wild win against the Giants. So they're not high in the rankings, but they get to be up there a little bit. At 24, it's Jacksonville. At 23, it's Cincinnati. There's a little bit of projecting in there. Cincinnati, again, 2-0, but with the injuries they had. And again, a start against the Browns and the Jags, they should have looked better than they did pre-Burrow injury, at least. And for Jacksonville, okay, you beat Carolina, they're behind you in the power rankings, and you lost to Cincinnati, who was without their starting quarterback for most of that game. That's a bad loss. So that's why they are as low as they are. At 22, it's the Jets. At 21, the New England Patriots. And 20, it's the Vegas Raiders. The Raiders come back down to earth after a loss on Monday Night Football. I still have worries about the secondary and what they're going to be able to do in terms of pass coverage there. So I think that they're going to get exposed as the weeks go on. New England, it's a good win, but again, it's against the team that we have last in the league. So I can't really get too excited about what they're doing right now. And the Jets, while I am high on this team, I cannot ignore the fact that it's 0-2 with a blowout loss in there and your starting quarterback is hurt. 19, it's Chicago. 18 is Atlanta. They are a team that maybe I should be moving up a little bit more. And just seeing it now, I do have Atlanta below Pittsburgh. That shouldn't happen. If these two teams do what they're supposed to do next week, that will change. But right now I have Atlanta at 18, Pittsburgh at 17, 16 I have Houston. Maybe too high for an 0-2 team, but I love the defense, and I love the quarterback and their number one receiver. The offensive line is an issue, and that's not going to change. So there is room for aggressive downward mobility, but I still like this team a lot. At 15, it's Denver. Just enough questions around them that I'm not able to put them any higher. At 14, Minnesota. Again, I like a lot of the pieces, but injury at quarterback and a tough loss on Sunday night. Yeah, I just can't get there all the way with Minnesota right now. At 13, it's Indianapolis. Look, you have 2 wins like the ones that they had. I have to buy into it at least a little bit, so they're up there. At 12, it's Seattle. Sam Darnold looked good with a lot of pressure in his face, and that defense, I think, is going to be a real problem as the year goes on. At 11, it is the San Francisco 49ers. You basically get to be close to the top 10 if you win a football game with Mac Jones. That's just how these rankings work. So they're at 11. Into our top 10 now. At number 10 is the LA Rams. They're off to a good start this season, and it was a little bit close against Tennessee until it wasn't, but the only concern around this football team is the health of the quarterback, and through 2 weeks, he looks healthy, so you got to keep rolling with them in the top 10. At 9, it's the Lions. I still think it's a flawed football team, but you cannot argue with the results that they put up on Sunday, and their one loss so far is against one of the most complete teams in the league, it looks like. So, I think they're going to take a step back. But, I mean, they were toward number 1 all season long last year. So this is a step back for them. At 8, it's Kansas City. I understand I have an 0-2 team in the top 10, but the defense is still extremely high level, and the quarterback is still insane. So, there's that. At 7, Washington. I have worries about this team long term, but I still think you have to have them as high. Like, I can't get them below some of the teams that are right below them right now. At 6, it's Tampa Bay. Couple very good wins, loving the quarterback, and I just think they're going to get healthier and they're going to get better as the season goes on. At 5, the LA Chargers. I'm bought in. I think this team has recognized the strength they have in the quarterback. They have a bunch of weapons now that he can throw to, and they're coaching the hell out of a really good defense in LA. It's just so many things to get excited about. At 4, the Green Bay Packers. Feels like they should be higher than number 4 based on the roster, how good I think they are, and the quality of wins that they have to start the season. But I think the top 3 are a tier to themselves. And so we will get to them here in just a second. But first, a reminder, if you miss any of the live stream or just want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go, it is available in podcast form on Spotify or on Apple Podcast. Just search Couch Potato Diary. At number 3, it is the Baltimore Ravens. A dominant win in week number 2 to respond to a heartbreaking loss in week number 1. It is all systems go for the Ravens. At 2, the defending Super Bowl champions with a win in a Super Bowl rematch over the Kansas City Chiefs. They look as good as advertised so far and are basically locked into the top 3 this season, barring catastrophic injury. But number 1, you win a game like that in week 1, and you come back with a 30-point win basically in week number 2, you got to stay number 1 in the power rankings. It's the Buffalo Bills. They have probably the best quarterback in the league right now in Josh Allen. They have a defense that's going to be tested at some times, but they have a running back who looks very good as well. So a lot to get excited about with the Buffalo Bills. They are the number 1 team in the power rankings, once again, after week number 2. I can't imagine I just hit the 32-team parlay on picks that you agree with. So let me know, either in the chat or in the comments, what is your, biggest beef with what I have here in the power rankings.